20 years ago, my life changed dramatically in a way I never could have anticipated. And it was all the result of something as simple as offering to water my best friend's flowers. My name's Kara Robinson Chamberlain, and 20 years ago I was kidnapped from my friend's front yard by a man that was a total stranger, and I found out later, a serial killer. This is my story, one piece at a time in my own words, and I'm telling it in this way to take ownership over it and to engage with you guys, give you the story, but also show you how much more there is to it and how much more you are, even if you've had bad things happen. So there are trigger warnings in this story. You have SA, you have kidnapping. So if at any point you're feeling triggered or you're feeling anxious, then please take a moment to take care of yourself and come back when and if it feels appropriate to you. Thank you so much for being here. Let me start by telling you who I was 20 years ago. So I grew up, I was an only child. I grew up riding dirt bikes and horses and go-karts, and I was a little bit of a tomboy, but at 15, I had a boyfriend, and so I had kind of moved away from those things. My best friend had a license, she had a car, we were always together, and she lived close to and was good friends with my boyfriend, so we were just always together. I spent my days hanging out with them. We went to my boyfriend's baseball games. I was a pretty average 15-year-old living in a pretty average community and did not know anyone who had been a victim of a serious crime. That's how today started 20 years ago. I had spent the night with a friend and I slept in. I woke up, I called my boyfriend, kind of checked in with him. What are you doing today? You're working? Okay, let's meet up later maybe. My friend and I called another friend who lived at the lake, and she invited us over, and I mean, a day in the sun by the water. Are you kidding? Of course we're there. What else are we doing? We're 15 and 16 years old. So we called my friend's mom, and she asked if there was anything that we needed to do before we left the house, and her mom asked if we could just water the plants. So my friend wanted to take a shower. I volunteered to do that because let's get to the lake, girl. Like, let's get this done. And that was the beginning of a different phase of my life and a decision that probably saved my friend's life and definitely changed my life for the rest of my life. And gets out of the car, comes directly over to me. He has a binder in his hands. He is wearing like a button-down shirt. He's wearing jeans. He looks relatively clean cut, and he says that he was driving around, he saw me outside, he had some magazines or some pamphlets that he was giving out, and he asked if my parents were home. Now, I knew not to tell people that I was home alone, but you're in the moment, and you just respond authentically. So I said, this is my friend's house, and he asked if her mom was home, and I said no. He said, okay, well, I'll just leave these for you. This whole interchange, he's a good distance away from me, and so no red flags until he reached in to give me the pamphlets, and that's when I felt a gun pressed to the side of my neck, and he said, you're gonna come with me. I went outside. I was still in my pajamas. I had slept in a pair of cheerleading shorts and a t-shirt from my mom's work, and I was outside watering the plants. I had no shoes on, and I was 15. I was getting ready to get my license. I had driven my mom's boyfriend's car, and it was a Pontiac Trans Am, and I loved the car. My boyfriend's mom also had the same car, and so they were on my radar, let's just say that. So when one drove by on the way out of the neighborhood, I noticed it. It's not a thing that I maybe would have noticed normally, but I noticed this car. So when it came back into the neighborhood, I immediately noticed it again. It pulled directly into the driveway. A man got out. He did not look creepy, scary, or suspicious in any way, shape, or form. So I wasn't nervous. So, there's a lot of things that you think you're gonna do when you get put into a situation like that. But my reaction was to freeze. So when I felt the cold metal on my neck and he said, come with me, I said, stop. And he said, why don't you come with me? And kind of, presses in a little bit. And I did. So from the outside perspective, the neighbor saw me getting into the car, and it just looked like He had his arm around my neck. You couldn't see anything. And I did. I walked around to the driver's side. He opened the door. He put the seat forward and said, "Get in." I looked in the back seat and there was a plastic container, and he said, "Get in the container." And so I did. And I immediately knew that now I had to escape. I had to take the power in any way. At this point, I'm in the back seat of a car in a plastic container being driven by my captor, and I know that I have to escape. There's never any question that I will escape, and I know that I have to remain calm because people like this thrive off of fear. And there wasn't a lot I was in control of, but I was in control of my own emotions, and I wanted to not give that to him. So my survival mechanism was to remain calm and attempt to appease him so that he at some point will let his guard down and I'll be able to escape and to gather information. This is the beginning of my fact gathering that eventually leads to the identification of my captor. I'm paying attention to the turns at this point and trying to figure out where we're going. I feel the car merge onto the interstate, and at that point I know that I'm going to have to do something else. I'm not going to know where we are, so eventually I'm going to have to try to figure it out. So we drive for about 10 minutes before he pulls over to the side of the road, takes the lid off of the container, and at that point he puts a ball gag in my mouth and restrains me and tells me to scream as loud as I can, which I do, and he says, "Okay, good." And then he drives for a couple more minutes before he stops, picks up the container with me in it, and carries it a short way and drags it over a threshold into his apartment, where I am for the next 18 hours.